Hello! Welcome to The Healing Artist. I'm your host, Freda, and friends, today I wanted to talk about that phenomenon of how your inner world reflects your outer world. So, friends, if you're new here, this is a podcast where we gently explore healing, spirituality, and what it means to be human. Oh man. So, friends, have you ever noticed that a couple of people could have the same kind of day, and one of them is going to have a different experience than the other, and how that is all based upon the way that they see the world? Now, this is so obvious to me because my husband and I live in completely different realities. We share a home, we share friend groups, and we will go to a party and we will have two entirely different experiences. We just have different worldviews. And that, I genuinely believe, is based on inner work and how to navigate the world when you're seated from the seat of yourself. So when we allow the external thing like the news and when we allow the external reality to dictate our inner reality, we are constantly in responding and in response to all of this traumatic stuff that is happening around us. But when we dictate our reality by dealing with our inner landscape and understanding ourselves and get grounded and seated from the seat of ourselves, falling in love with ourselves, a lot of this is about self-love. Getting in here, being in your body, and showing up to life with a curiosity. It becomes less about why is this happening to me and more about what can I learn from this? What you got for me, life? So that's what I want to talk about today. And we're going to use some different experiences and so on and so forth. One of my favorite ones, we're going to just start right off the top. I have these little charms that Dina Barron made. And she was on the podcast before, and just a lovely soul. And I bought her charm kit, and I have the funnest time with them. I love pulling them out at parties. I like taking them on little vacations with friends. And I like playing with them because they show me how other people think, and it cracks me up. It turns me on. It makes me happy. So had them out and playing with them with my husband, and the whole thing, he pulled a charm and he pulled a passport. And I said to him, okay, so the questions are, what is it? And he said, a passport. And then I said, what is its purpose? How would you explain a passport to somebody who had never seen a passport before and doesn't know what it's like? What its use is, what is it? And he proceeded to say the words, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like, a passport is a booklet of privilege that, based on your country of origin, you can receive, based on your economic status and your ability to travel across pretend lines that society has built and countries have created in order to harness power and separate people, control finance. There was like this whole thing. And like, if I would have pulled the passport charm, I would have sort of like went down a road like, a passport is something that you get to go on vacation, and let's all go on a trip and let's travel, and like the joy behind it, the freedom that a passport brings. And I would not have viewed it the way that he did. Well, of course, now I think of it and I'm just like, well, he's absolutely right. He's not wrong. That is definitely what a passport is. It is something that divides us. It is to separate. And some people who have privilege and resources get one. And other people, it is a way to exclude and extract and keep away. And yeah, it's really something else. He's definitely right there, but I just hadn't viewed it that way. So that is like a perfect kind of like what I'm talking about here. I am not saying let's view the world from Pollyanna positioning. But I am saying when we view the world through gratitude, this sort of like gracious lens, it opens up possibility for more and more beauty to come into our lives. So when we see things from a place of fear, when we see things from a place of separation, the world gives us more fear and more separation and more things to be anxious and upset about. But coming from a place of love, falling in love with ourselves, understanding our own worth and value in the world, sitting in our bodies, loving our bodies, being here in the vessel with ourselves, it really changes your perspective on everything. We become so much more, with this kind of healing work, you become so much more compassionate for other people around you because you've been through hell. You know what it's like. And now it's like everyone's got their own thing going on, man. I believe that people are doing their best. I really do, for the most part. I believe that people, that view of that people try, they're trying. And not everyone has the same capacity. And how can we help each other out as opposed to rip each other apart? I don't believe in scarcity. I believe that there is more than enough. I believe there's more than enough for all of us because we want different stuff. Now, it feels like there's some real greedy people that are hoarding and keeping things for themselves. That's true. But there's a mindset shift here that there's also still more than enough for all of us. And that doesn't mean that there aren't difficult times, and it doesn't mean that sometimes people aren't hungry or houseless or in despair. I myself have gone through incredibly difficult times, but cultivating this tenacity, grit, and resilience within has made me, and gratitude, because there is, even if it's just the air we're breathing, but there is air, that's something to be grateful for. There is always something to find, to bring hope. When we view the world through this lens of beauty, when we find the beauty, when we make it an active practice to rewrite the neurological pathways in our brain and get ourselves focused on the good, the universe delivers more good to focus on. When we see the bad, the negative, the things that are bringing people down, the pain, the sorrow, when we focus on the suffering, we are in the part of creating more suffering. These are heady and not easy concepts to come to, especially when you are in a place of extreme struggle. When you are on the struggle bus, you're on it and you are in the ride. When you are actively having anxiety or actively having a major catastrophic event in your life take place, that is the shattering. It is the falling apart, and you're going to go through it. And yes, please kick, scream, and do all of the things. I'm not telling you to surrender into the process when it is all shattering and shaking around you. There is a collective purging happening in the United States right now, and people are really waking up to seeing the horrors and understanding, seeing through the veil a little bit, and understanding that not all that has been promised to the people is true. People are seeing the structures fall, understanding more and more the unfairness upon which this country was built. Well, here we are at war, and the war is for your attention, and you are being invited to go within and cultivate your personal inner landscape and make it a place that you want to live. And as you do so, you will then more and more see that reflected in the reality around you. And it does not mean that you're not going to have challenging situations in your life. You will, because that's what being a human is. That is being here. It's not like you have some spiritual awakening. And please listen, because I went through this. I so totally went through this. I thought I had this spiritual awakening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown. I have all these gifts and talents now. And I thought that everything was just going to be ease and flow forevermore, that there wasn't going to be hardship. No, that is not what happened. And I had to grieve through that, because that is sort of like the Instagram goofy spiritual teacher nonsense that is sold to us, and it is not true. The truth of the matter is that when challenge comes, you are now able to meet it, seated within yourself, and able to just be. Not taking whatever's happening personally, but just be. Be here now and respond accordingly. Not responding from a place of all the wounding inside of you, because you've been taking care of yourself and you know who you are, you know what you feel like. You're not going to take on other people's pain. You're not going to jump on their trigger train and scream back at them. You're going to be like, oh, okay, that person's having a moment. They're having a hard time. Is there a way I can help? Maybe helping is just walking away. Send them love. Oh man, you guys, we are in such an exciting time. It is such an exciting time to be alive. I love it, but it ain't easy. Popcorn is one of my favorite foods, and this is such a popcorn moment. What do you like to put in your popcorn? I like to make something called super popcorn. And in the super popcorn, I put it in a huge big bowl, air pop popcorn. And then I like to put avocado oil on it. And then I shake nutritional yeast into it, salt. And then super popcorn is when you add anything from your kitchen pantry. So all sorts of other snacks. Now, a really important part of this is you have to remember that it only has the calorie content of the popcorn, air popped. Oh man. All right, friends. I wanted to just bring this forward. Let's do a few life examples just for fun. I remember when I was working for my sister, so I don't know, years and years and years ago, long before I started doing my healing work, I was having a hard time. There was challenging situations going on at home. I think it was probably during the time when we were getting owner-occupied, evicted. And during that period of time, I was just in so much sorrow, suffering, and not knowing what to do. It was just like our world was absolutely being rocked. We were being rocked, my husband and I. And we had, the rent that we paid the neighborhood had gone up so much that there was nothing like the amount of rent we were paying anywhere around us. And we decided, okay, we've got a little bit of savings, let's buy something so we can start paying ourselves back, because if this is the cost of rents, we might as well do a mortgage. And that period of time, like needing to look for and buy something, it was hell. It was just hell on earth. And I was just destroyed. Why is this happening to us? Was a big one. Why, God? Why? It was rough. And I remember I was at work one day and I was walking to the BART. I had my headphones in and I had I was looking at the ground, and I felt heavy and dense, and it was bad and hard and grumpy. Everything is terrible. And I remember walking down the street and accidentally checking somebody with my shoulder, I hit this lady, and just rage, get out of my way, that kind of clear the street. Freda's coming. Just so upset. And I just remember then feeling so personally attacked that I had shoulder checked this lady. This lady was just getting out of her car. It had nothing to do with her. Wrong place, wrong time. I'm just going to the BART and riding home and being so in my head and grumpy and everything's bad and the car doesn't work and da-da-da-da-da. So, and just how it felt so knife in me, cutting personal attacks. I mean, I remember what that was like. So when you are in the thick of something, you're just going through it. But when you find that place to breathe, That's when you get to learn to insert that pause. So it's really when you are not actively in trauma is when we are teaching ourselves how to move through life, move through the trauma, right? But you got to do the work on rewriting those neurological pathways and the way we respond. You have to do the work when you're not literally in crisis. Because when you're in a crisis, you're in crisis. Start box breathing. Take it to the woods, take it to your walking meditation, but basically just get through. Because you can't change your brain when you're in crisis. You're just in crisis. So that is why I always like to talk to people, and my first step for folks when they want to begin to have a spiritual practice is to begin to cultivate a meditation practice. And meditation is a practice. It takes time. And your brain is going to be talky and talking to you, possibly for years. So you are going to make a commitment to yourself. If you want to eventually be happy, better, and in love with you, you're going to make a commitment to yourself. And that commitment is to just show up. You're going to show up for yourself. So I like to find the same time every day-ish. I like to do the morning. I wake up, I have a cup of coffee, and then I sit, my feet flat on the floor. I do my breathing, and I do my meditation practice. I drop in and I take my time and I have my sit. And since I became a channel, I sit there and channel in the morning for myself. What's my day like? What are we doing? Any advice to get me through and navigate? Any healing that wants to come through? So I think that morning meditation is a wonderful way to set yourself up to have a positive existence, a better life, to begin to change the inner landscape of you, to change your inner reality. Because when you get up and you're laying in bed, or you get up with your coffee and you're scrolling on your phone, there's nothing in there for you. There's no good in there. Very rarely. It's net bad. Because that is the war on your attention right now. And the war on your attention is net bad on the internet. It just is. And you might say to yourself, oh no, I have my Instagram feed perfectly calibrated to cats and racing bikes or whatever. Okay, bully for you. Yes, good. You got this. But that is not the majority of humanity. The majority of humanity gets pulled around like a rag doll in a washing machine with the news. And I see it in my own family, so I know what I'm talking about. Oh, man. Cultivate a morning meditation practice, and in time, and it takes time, you will begin to see changes. I don't want to promise you anything. I don't want to tell you you're going to receive the following gifts and this stuff is going to light up for you and whatnot. I'm not going to promise you anything. But there will be a change in some way. There will be some form of reward. And that reward is going to be different for each and every one of us. I thought that I was going to do all of this work and it was blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden I was going to be financially compensated in some way so that we didn't have a mortgage and riches were going to flow into my life. And I am so cared for. I have never wanted for anything. I am totally cared for. But it doesn't look like The Secret. It looks like me being happy. I'm happy. I don't take things personally, and I love my life. I love my body, which is interestingly aging and changing, and that's interesting. It's not a crisis. It just simply is. It's a curiosity. I'm grateful I'm getting to get older. When I was in my 20s, I didn't think I'd make it this late in my life, so what a gift. What a gift to get white hair. What a gift to start to have different stuff come up physically. That's interesting. Bodies age. It can happen. And then there's these spiritual teachers that are like, I'm going to break reality and XYZ, and I'm not one of those. I'm somebody that just wants to learn to accept what is and love what I have. Because it's good. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I don't have to manipulate my surroundings to make them please me. It just is. It's just life, and sometimes it's challenging. So working on this inner landscape gets us to the point where there's an acceptance of reality. Now, some things are not okay. There's a lot of like social justice type situations that are just absolutely unacceptable things that are happening in our country right now. And for that, the spiritual practice shows up and shows us where can we be of service? How do we help? What can we do? I am not saying do not take action, but I am saying take care of yourself first so that you can respond from a grounded place when it is time to take action for your fellow man. So, friends, I want to share with you some times where something that would have broken me in the past, I noticed that it didn't even faze me. So I have been looking for work recently. I've been applying for jobs. I did have one like 3-week process job interview that I did not get. And it was challenging because I actually really felt like I got that job. Like energetically, I was like, how could they not want me? And since then, I've applied for a whole bunch of different stuff that kind of looked interesting or is in the family of the work that I used to do. And I had one no thank you, but otherwise, honestly, like, I don't know how many jobs I've applied for, maybe like 20, but it is just like sort of crickets. You just don't get any response. In the past, this would have led me down a landslide of self-doubt, self-criticism, worry, really big financial worry, fear, all the fear. And it's not. I am so solidly grounded in like what is meant for us will find us. And in the interim, I've had all of these little jobs come in, like made a couple $100 doing yard work for my family, and like just different little things have come in. I was hired to do some computer work for someone, making like stuff in Canva, making art for them. I sold some stuff on Craigslist. Like there have been ways to help me meet the number that I was looking to meet for the month. And I didn't just meet the number, I actually exceeded the number that I was looking to make. So it all ultimately worked out. I had, I've been, we're going to celebrate the full moon circle here coming up, and I had more people register for that than I have in the past. So, like, the things work out. The universe gives us what we need. I am not prepared at this moment in time to be taking on a job because we have a bunch of travel, and I've said I do other stuff for the month of July. So I'm not actually ready to go take a position in an office or at a place and go do something constantly either. So I just am like honoring the fact that when the right thing comes, like I will not be passed by for it. It will find me. Maybe that is Freda Miletsky Healing Arts finally getting some clients. Maybe it's getting a position at one of the places that I find that is a job opening and applied for. It's going to happen. But I'm telling you this because in the past, I would have been in a state of incredible fretfulness. And I am not. Like, whatever is meant for me, it's on the way. I can feel it. I don't know what it is. I just love surprises. Like in the biggest way possible. You know how everybody just wants to know what's coming? I so totally do not. I love a little drama. I love a little suspense. I love a little surprise. Like, that's what makes this life fun. I don't want to know what's coming. Like, I can be prepared, but like, yeah, I don't want to know. It's the fun stuff is just in the living it, in the doing it. Like, why would I want to know? All right, friends. Your inner landscape is reflected in your external world. Get right with you, get right with your insides, and your world will show up for you and reflect back to you a more positive landscape. We are creating our own reality each and every day. I know, it's wild, but the way that we view the world, each one of us are different. 8 billion plus different people, 8 billion plus different ways to view the world. All right, friends. I teach a morning meditation program. It's called Return to Self-Love. Learn about it on my website, fredahealing.com. You can book a private session. I do mentorship. I make pet portraits. You can hire me for an illustration job. fredahealing.com is going to show you everything that I do, which is so many different things. If you have a tricky tree on your property that you want me to communicate with, let's talk to the tree. Don't be a stranger. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all of the things. I would love to see you in one of my programs. Reach out or have an Elizabeth channeling session. Do something. Let's hang out. All right, friends. I love you. God, universe, source loves you. And I hope that you have a wonderful day.